Learn all about living in Oaxaca, Mexico from Margaret Barclay in this video interview with expats in Mexico. So why did you decide to move to Mexico?
It was amazing. We followed our hearts. We were already retired, living in New York City, had everything worked out. He was born there, his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather, go on back. He was a New Yorker. I was a transplanted New Yorker. And, my mother died, and I had to deal with her increased weakness the year before she died, and then I had to deal with her estate afterwards. She lived in California. And I was tired, and a friend said, I'm going to Oaxaca. Come with me. It's a healing place. I didn't know how to spell it. I didn't know where it was, except that it was in Mexico. We came and just immediately, both of us fell in love with it.
What year was that?
2003, January 2003.
Was that the first time that you were in Mexico?
Well, because my parents lived in San Diego, I'd been in Baja California quite a lot. I'd been to Mexico City, but that was travel visits, not an exploration of where to live next.
Had you thought at all about living in Mexico before this time?
Absolutely not. We were settled in New York. I was already retired 10 years. So we decided that we were going to have to come back, which was unusual for us. We never went most places more than once. And we enrolled ourselves in Spanish school that winter. And we started to learn Spanish, and we came back every winter, first for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. And then we found the cute little house that I'm in and bought it and just surprised ourselves. Isn't often with couples that both want to move, particularly when he was in his 70s, I was in my 60s. But it's right, and we've never looked back.
So you were both a little older when you moved there.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a big surprise. Finding the house made a big difference. The real estate situation, we don't have a large expat community, so finding a house that was comfortable and move-inable it's not as easy in Oaxaca as it is, I understand, in other places in Mexico. But this house had been built 15 years before by an American woman. It's very much Spanish style, but by an American woman who was a quadriplegic. So imagine finding a house that's totally wheelchair accessible, but in a Mexican style. Was wonderful. And I'm in the historic center of the city of Oaxaca, a 450,000 person city.
And talk a little bit about your house. How large is it? And how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and how much you paid for it and all those things?
The piece of property is 200 square meters, which is about something over 2,000 square feet. That includes the outdoor area. But Oaxaca is total, all year long you're able to live inside or out. So it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. No, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. And we bought it fully furnished for $300,000 in 2007.
What about the outside area? Do you have a pool?
I'm talking 2,000 square feet. Of course, there's no pool. I do have 2 fountains.
Oh, that sounds nice.
But I'm in the city. This is a city house, a small city house.
How far are you from actually the downtown area of Oaxaca?
In the downtown area. I'm in the historic center.
So you walk to everything.
I've never owned a car my entire life.
Wow.
I do know how to drive. I live much in the same lifestyle that I lived in Manhattan.
Well, that's great. What is it about Oaxaca that enchanted you?
This is a quote I use often. Sartre said, "If you want to be comfortable, stay home." I like living in a place that challenges me in a positive way, but it's also itchy a little bit sometimes, a little frisson of what's going on here. We often say here in Oaxaca, leave your whys at the border. Take what comes to you, don't ask why. It's a lovely, rich cultural city. It's a destination for Mexicans. It has incredible restaurants, art galleries, a classical music scene that's in the past 2 years has exploded. I now have usually 3 classical concerts I can go to a week, from chamber music to orchestra, all free.
That is amazing.
It is. And since I love classical music, now I miss the theater because although I speak Spanish, going to a theatrical production is difficult. Music, obviously, much easier. Yeah, it's incredibly culturally rich, plus the fact that this is a state with 16 separate ethnic groups that speak 16 different languages. They have to learn now Spanish when they go to school, but I can walk down the street and hear Zapotec or Mije or Mixteca, or I can hear different languages being spoken.
So these are all indigenous languages from the people who populated Oaxaca over the centuries.
That still populate Oaxaca, that still live in little villages and have as the language they learn at birth, still not Spanish.
Oaxaca is a very historical city. There are many historical sites in that area. It's still a pretty popular tourist destination, isn't it?
Exactly. It's the center of the Zapotec religion. So it went from the Mayans to the Zapotecs to the Aztecs in Mexico City. Those were the 3 great groups, archaeological groups. And we have a magnificent center in Monte Alban that looms over the city, which was the religious center for the civilization when it was at its height.
The area also is very well known for the weavings and rugs and blankets that are made there also, I think.
All kinds of crafts, just like the picture behind me.
Why don't you explain for our viewers the bas relief behind you?
Okay, let me see if I can get the whole thing in the picture.
Yeah, it's in.
It's enormous. It's by a young artist who lives outside of town, called Manuel Reyes, Reyes, very talented, and it's out of his brain. He works with clay. And this is it's an orchestra, and it's just charming. Well, not an orchestra, I guess. Well, it is because there are violins and basses, but there are also guitars and trumpets and a drum set and a bunch of singers. Just delightful. Now, we had owned a piece by Manuel. It's in another room. It's a frame on a mirror, and we went out to his studio and house, and I said to my husband, "We have a small house. We can't buy another piece. Don't take any money." Well, he knew me. We walked into his studio, and there was that piece, and I'm like, "How much money did you burn? Have you got enough to put a down payment down?" So we snapped it up. It was like deciding that we love Oaxaca. We decided we love this piece. It's very nice.
So not only a center for artisan work and handicrafts, but also
it's a colonial city. So there are over 30 colonial churches. So you're seeing Spanish Baroque architecture all over the place.
So it's a beautiful city.
Oh, gorgeous. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And it's a city of bright colors, bougainvillea year-round.
And a city of wonderful food.
I have a son who owns a restaurant, a very nice restaurant in Aspen, Colorado. And he says Oaxaca is one of his favorite places to visit for the restaurants. There's an incredible number of brilliant chefs here who are taking the Oaxacan flavors and spices and using them in an international style. Yes, I can. When my husband was alive, we ate out every night. It was just, of course, because at the same time, a tasting menu at the most expensive restaurant in Oaxaca, so a 10-course tasting menu costs maybe $50.
50 US dollars.
50 US dollars.
And I'm sure you can eat very well in many of the local restaurants for much less than that.
You can eat very well for 80 pesos, $4 or $5. I had a terrific shrimp cocktail and some crackers and a lemonade the other day, and it cost $6.50 or 103 pesos.
It's a lovely thing about living in Mexico.
Yes. Yes. But there's a great respect for the food. Oaxaca is known as the place of the seven moles. Puebla was where the black mole started that everyone talks about. Oh, it's the one with chocolate in it. But we have red mole, yellow mole, colored mole. We have one that's called mancha mantea, stains the tablecloth mole.
What a great name.
And they all have a variety of flavors in them because there are at least 30 ingredients in a mole, from a clove or a raisin to a specific kind of chili or chiles, some of them dried, some of them fresh. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. It's like a very fine glass of wine every time you eat one, the complexity.
Where do you shop?
I shop locally. I shop in the local markets. I'm the kind of person that tends not to buy packaged goods. So I have a wonderful health food store that has a full range of vegetables 3 blocks from my house. I have an organic market about 5 blocks from my house. In the winter, during the orange season, there's a guy that fills the back of a pickup truck with oranges in Veracruz. And he comes over the mountains once a week, and then he goes up and down the streets with a loudspeaker saying, "Oranges, oranges, oranges for juice, wonderful oranges." And he knows, he parks in front of my house. I come out with a bag. He fills it up. I have my juice oranges for the week.
How marvelous.
Now, 2 or 3 always get a little, green, or not green, you know what I mean. Can't think of the word.
Not quite ripe.
Go bad. They start to go bad.
Oh, I see. Yeah, moldy.
They just came straight off the tree. They're not in any way processed or fixed. They're going to go bad if you don't use them right away. Wonderful.
So the prices of food very reasonable there.
Very. I buy a week's groceries for $20.
What about utilities? I would think that with the warmer climate, year-round climate there, that heating is not really needed during the winter.
It's not a warmer climate. It's more like a San Diego climate in the sense that we're at 5,000 feet here. So I don't have air conditioning and I don't have heating.
Oh, so it's like the Colonial Highlands.
Yeah, it's what they call high desert.
Mm-hmm.
So the worst month is May, where it will be in the 80s day after day, and you kind of go home at 11 and come out again at 3. but a fan is sufficient. And most houses are made of cement. Mine is it's an old building, so there are even some adobe walls, which is the big clay bricks. So I don't need to have air conditioning. Although then again, I have to admit, most Mays I'm traveling. It's a great time to travel any place in the world, except for Oaxaca where it's hot. Then the rain starts in June. Okay, so it's very hot during the day. However, it'll go down to 45 at night, every night.
During the summer?
During the summer, absolutely. So.
Well, it sounds like a great climate.
And then when the rains come, of course, that means the days are cloudier, so it's less hot. Plus, we get the afternoon rain, usually an hour at the most. But that sort of clears the air, cools everything down.
Do you have an opportunity to go to the beach once in a while?
I'm not a beach person.
Oh, you're not? Okay. But it's about a 6-hour drive from Oaxaca to the beach, right?
A 20-minute flight and a 6-hour drive.
Okay. But they are working on a new highway. I think that'll really shorten the time.
Well, 12 years ago, they said they would finish it in 2 years.
Oh.
We do not believe it will ever be finished.
Okay.
Because by the time they finish it, the first part will have collapsed. So, yes, there's talk of a highway to the coast, but I wouldn't count on it if you're thinking of coming to Oaxaca.
When you mentioned flying to the coast, international airport at Oaxaca that has direct connections?
Well, you don't need an international airport to fly to the beach because we go to within Oaxaca. That's the 20-minute flight. But yes, United flies in directly from Houston, and starting in December, American Airlines will fly in directly from Dallas. Other than that, we're an hour south of Mexico City. So it's just, if you're coming from the north, it's just as easy to go to Mexico City and get one of the frequent flights into Oaxaca.
Do people typically drive to Mexico City to the international airport there, or do they fly from Oaxaca?
Interesting question. Most people fly because if you're going on, it doesn't add much to the cost of the ticket. A few people like to take the bus. They take an overnight bus, but that's 8 hours, 7-8 hours.
Oh, it is. Uh-huh.
Yeah, quite a ways from here. We are not close to anything. Closest city is Puebla, and that's 5 hours north of us.
You mentioned that you were fluent in Spanish. Is
Not
that
fluent, but I do pretty well.
you do well? Okay,
Yeah.
so all right, so you're not 10 out of a 10. You're like an 8 out of 10, maybe,
I
on the
would get
fluency scale.
on the fluency scale. When you own a house, you have to be able to talk to the electrician and the plumber.
Sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned that when you first moved there that you were taking.
I studied Spanish for years. I haven't studied it recently. And so I could probably cobble together a political discussion if I wanted to talk about politics, which I don't. But going to a lecture is difficult for me when it's just a talking mouth. So I don't know what level that makes me. But I live mostly in the expat community. I spend most of my day with friends who are expats.
And are the expats there primarily American and Canadian, or are they from all over the world?
They're from all over the world, but they are primarily American and Canadian. The Canadians mostly come in just for the winter because they're required in order to keep their health care and retirement. They are required to live in Canada a certain number. I think it's 6 months.
Oh, okay.
I still keep my Social Security and my Medicare. I mean, I get my Social Security, and I keep my Medicare as an emergency medical
Sure.
backup.
Many expats do that.
Yeah, and then my husband, when his prostate cancer became a problem, we went to the United States, and he got, 3 months of radiation treatment that in the end cost us under $500 because he had kept his Medicare. But day to day, he had an oncologist here, he had a neurologist here, we came back here, he was in hospitals here. We just use the economy.
And the quality of the health care in Oaxaca is excellent and very inexpensive.
Extremely inexpensive and brilliant. I have an issue with glaucoma. It's in the family, and sometimes I have elevated intraocular pressure. I'm told I'm seeing one of the top 5 glaucoma specialists in Mexico. And I see him every 2 months, and it costs me $20, 400 pesos for a visit.
That's amazing.
Go figure.
The expat community there, you mentioned a little earlier that it wasn't a large expat community, but it sounds like it's quite active.
Yes, if you want to be, or if not. We figure we're maybe maximum 5,000 people here, foreigners on long-term visas, and of course a whole bunch of those are missionaries that are working in the villages. A whole bunch of them are kids that are working in bars and living a different life than I know. So we have this small group. Anyone who can spell Oaxaca, pronounce Oaxaca, and know where it is, it's a pretty small group.
So you're a real promoter of Oaxaca. What are the 3 things you love best about it?
I love the learning that happens every day here. I would say that's the thing that's most interesting. Is it a new fruit someplace or a vegetable that I don't know how to cook? Or is it that I am talking to an archaeologist who's been working at Mitla for years and has things to tell me? I love the cultural scene, which includes the restaurants, but also the art galleries, the music, as I said before. And it's so inexpensive to live here that I have to give that as my 3rd. My house, including the maid twice a week, handyman once a month, who just does everything that's on my checklist, costs less than $5,000 a year to live in. That's with all the utilities.
That is amazing.
My real estate taxes are $40 a year.
Uh-oh. Be prepared. A lot of people are going to watch this video and are going to say, Oaxaca is a place that's now on my radar.
And I have plenty of friends, and what makes them interesting is that they've lived an interesting life. They're artists. They're, not your daily go to work, put money in your IRA people. And they're living here on Social Security very nicely. And their Social Security is because they've had not a uninterrupted working life. It's not that large.
Margie, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. You're really an interesting person, and we love to hear about Oaxaca.
Well, come to Oaxaca.
We will.